Hello and welcome to this video presentation on starting a business, First Steps, brought to you by the Mississippi Small Business Development Centers. This presentation outlines the basic steps to start a business. Topics include regulations such as licenses and permits, legal forms of business ownership, basic marketing concepts, lending terminology, outline for a business plan, and other resources to assist in starting a business. The MSBDC is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. All opinions, conclusions, or recommendations expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the SBA.
Welcome, my name is Mitch McDowell, and tonight's workshop is Starting a Business, First Steps. I'm a business counselor with the Mississippi Small Business Development Center. I work with primarily people that are pre-venture, which means that I've always had an idea of opening this type of business, and I really didn't know or don't know where to start. So I work with those clients. I work with people that are actively starting a business, and I also work with people that are in business and maybe have been in business for many, many years. I do one-on-one counseling sessions. I also do workshops. We do Starting a Business First Steps, which is what we're doing tonight. The other main workshop we do is how to develop a business plan. Okay, so any questions before we get started with the presentation? Okay, anyways, a little bit about my organization. I'm with the Mississippi Small Business Development Center, and we're a statewide organization. We have centers located around the state. We were created in 1981 during the Reagan administration, and we were primarily put in place to help small businesses be successful. 50% of our funding comes from the SBA, which is the federal government, and the other 50% of our funding comes from the state of Mississippi. So I like to say that we are, all of our services are prepaid by your federal and state tax dollars. So when you come to a workshop or you come in for one-on-one counseling sessions, we do not charge for those. Interesting point, 50% of Mississippi startup businesses fail within the first year. If you utilize MSBDC services, you come to workshops, you come in for one-on-one counseling sessions, your chances of failure are reduced to about 14% during the first year. So we know what we do helps people that are starting businesses and are in business. Okay, why do small businesses fail? And I hate to start off the workshop being negative, but this is some information that you need to be aware of when you're making the decision to start a business. 50% of new businesses fail within the first year, and 80% of businesses fail within 7 years of opening. And those are the statistics. Why do they fail? Well, number one, or one of the main reasons, is lack of demand for products and or services that you're going to be selling. Just because grandmother makes a fantastic bowl of gumbo doesn't mean that you can start a business and turn a profit with that product. There has to be a good demand in the marketplace for it. Number two would be lack of planning. There's a lot of, and that's part of what we do as business counselors, is help you go through the planning process. Number three, inability to adjust to changes in the marketplace. The marketplace is always changing, and you have to be ready to adapt. I went to my 30-year class reunion a couple of months ago when I got out my old annual, and I went through and looked to see, okay, what businesses sponsored the annual 30 years ago. And there were probably 40 or 50 businesses in the annual 30 years ago. There's only one that's left open today. Only one business out of 40 to 50 businesses from 30 years ago. Another reason businesses fail is improper business setup, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And finally, another reason businesses fail is no marketing plan or inability to track results. There's a million different ways that you can market your business. Attract customers to your business. One of the things that you need to be able to do is to figure out, okay, what's working, what's not working. First three steps to starting a business, I really have broken it down into three categories. First category is to gather information. Before we do anything, we really need to get some specific information. Step number two is the development of the business idea. And the third step is business setup and operation. Now, before you go out and gather information, we want to have our act together, we want to look professional. My suggestion would be to get together some business cards. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. Put together maybe some flyers, brochures, possibly some surveys, questionnaires, maybe a hat with your business name or logo on it, and your shirt with your business name or logo on it. Don't have to spend a lot of money on that. You know, the other thing that I would include, and I don't have it on the PowerPoint, is you need to put together a 30 to 45 second elevator speech. You know, where you go out and you say, hey, this is who I am, this is what the business is, and this is exactly what it is that we're going to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to go out and get some information, and I want to look good. Business cards, flyers, brochures, survey or a questionnaire to get some information. If I really want to look good, maybe a hat with my business name or logo on it. You know, if I'm going to be a contractor or that kind of fits the business model that I'm going to be doing, certainly a hat with the business name or logo, or maybe a golf shirt, you know, polo golf shirt with your business name or logo on it. You can put these things together, not spend a lot of money, and again, look very professional when you go out. So step one, we've kind of got ourselves together, and we're going to go out and talk to some people, find out if there's really a need for what it is that we're wanting to do. So first thing we do is we really are going to take our initial idea and let the demand in the marketplace, i.e. what the customer wants, round out the rest of your business idea. You know, a lot of businesses have problems because, you know, they're doing something that they like, they're interested in, but there may not really be sufficient demand in the marketplace for what your idea is. So first thing we really want to do is go out and kind of pitch our idea and get some feedback on it. Okay, and I'm not talking about pitching it to your mom or your brother or your sister, because they're going to probably lie to you and tell you what a great idea you have. You want to talk to people that, potential clients, real potential clients, and talk to people that will tell you exactly what they think. Okay, not what you want to hear. Okay, this process is needed to align your idea to what is needed in the marketplace and differentiate your business from your competitors. And you're going to hear a lot about that today. Utilizing this strategy will give you direction for writing your business plan, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and minimize adjustments to your business once you are in business. And that's one thing that I really like to push. You know, if you go out and you really survey the market, get some feedback, and use that information to put your business, you know, into action, open your business, it minimizes the adjustments that you're going to have to make once you're in business. And usually those adjustments cost money. You know, I had a client of mine one time, he started a mobile oil change business. Basically, his business was he would come to your house and he would change the oil of your, you know, at your vehicles, at your location, so you didn't have to go to Jiffy Lube or any of the other places to get your oil changed. So he bought this little franchise, got all the equipment, and started marketing the business. The problem was nobody wanted him to come to their house and change the oil on their vehicles. So what he did was he called the franchisor and said, hey, I'm not getting any sales, what do you suggest? And they said, well, if you tried the commercial market. And he said, no, I thought, you know, this my bread and butter was kind of going to be the residential oil change market. And they said, well, why don't you try getting some commercial accounts? So he went out to all the different businesses that have vans and trucks and that kind of thing. And it turns out that's where the marketplace was. You know, that's where his business was. Within a short amount of time, he got contracts from a bunch of different businesses, got the business up, got it going, making money, and he was able to take off and had a successful business. Now, if he would have tried to kind of maybe pre-sell some packages before he spent money going after the residential market, he probably would have found out very quickly that there's no market for residential oil changes. You know, the market is doing commercial vans, trucks, fleets, that kind of thing. Okay? Now, one other thing, you know, if you put together a survey, my suggestion would be at the bottom of the survey, collect email addresses of potential clients to market a pre-sale or grand opening campaign for your business. You know, if you have a survey put together that says, hey, I'm thinking about opening up this type of business, and, you know, what do you think? What would you like for me to have? What would you not like for me to have? Hours of operation, you know, all those kinds of things. And at the bottom of it, if they'll fill out that information, see if you can get their email address. If they're going to fill out the survey, they're at least interested in what it is that you're doing. Once you get that email, now you can start your email database, which you can use for your pre-opening or your grand opening campaign for your business. Step number 2 in gathering information. We want to identify who your competitors are and where they are located. You know, if you're going into a business, everybody has some type of a competitor, whether it's a direct competitor or an indirect competitor. So we want to figure out where their competitors are, who they are, and where they are located. Second thing I would do is I want to identify their strengths and weaknesses. You know, strength and weakness of a business can simply be the location of the business. Is it a good location, bad location? How is their customer service? You know, when you call the business and somebody answers the phone, how's the person on the other end of the phone? Are they good or lousy? What is their staffing like? Pricing. Do they have convenient hours of operation? Another thing what might be product service offerings. You know, do they have a good selection? Are they offering what you want? Other strengths and weaknesses of a business might be how they advertise the business, what their signage is like, those types of things. So we're really going to go in and kind of pick their business apart, who your competitors are. Another thing I would do would be to talk to potential customers, or my potential customers, about the competitors. You know, what do you like, what do you not like? And what could you offer or do to give yourself a competitive advantage? It doesn't help just to be different. You want to be different in such a way that you're better than your customers, and by better I mean you offer the consumer. You know, your business is customized to what the consumer wants. Another thing I would do is map out locations of your competitors. You know, get a little map and put dots on it. Okay, step number 3 in gathering information. We call this an experience survey. You know, you want to talk to somebody that can give you additional insight into starting and operating your business. My suggestion would be, if you can, make an appointment to talk to someone, and I'm talking about someone in a non-compete situation who is doing what you want to do and is successful at it. Okay, you can get really, really valuable information. And the information I'm talking about is not the kind of information that you're going to read in a book or you're going to find on the internet. It's going to come from somebody that has been there, done that, and kind of figured out those necessary things that you need to do to be successful in that particular type of business. You know, my background is the health and fitness business. You know, I owned and operated a health club for many, many years. And when I first got into the gym business, I went to a trade show. And this was in New Orleans. And I met a guy that had been in the health club industry for many, many years. And, you know, I remember we were at lunch and he asked me who I was and how long I had been, you know, owned my club and that type of thing. And he asked me a question. He said, how do you collect your paper? And I said, well, I do it myself. Now, for paper is basically people that pay monthly. You know, if you come in and sign a contract with me and I say, okay, you know, you pay your first month, it's $25 a month, and then you have 11 payments at $25 a month after that, that's considered paper, the 11 payments that are collected. And you say, okay, well, can I just put it on can you bill my credit card every month? Sure. So we do a little contract. And that's considered paper. Well, I collected all my own paper at this point, which meant that I had to process the contract. I had to go into my system. Now, this was in the early 90s, and, you know, when it was time to draft all the accounts, I would have to take my disk. You remember the 3x5 floppy disks? And I would take it to the bank, and they would process it, and then I would get a report back that showed who paid, who was in SF. Okay, from there, I have to send out letters to all the people that are in SF, and I have to make the phone calls and that type of thing. So anyways, I told him, I collect my own paper, I do the whole thing. And he says, well, no, you don't do that. And I said, well, what do you mean I don't do that? He said, no, you let a third-party billing company do that. And I said, I didn't know there was such thing as a third-party billing company. He said, yeah, there is. There's a couple of companies, and that's all they do. So they collect paper for health clubs. Well, I thought, you know, I'm doing pretty good. And I was collecting about 80%. You know, of every dollar that was in paper, I collected about 80%. And so I thought, now, you know, I know what I'm doing. Well, by the end of the conference, I realized that this guy owned about 30 health clubs across the United States. And he was very, very, very successful at what he did. So I went back and I thought, you know what, if it's good enough for him, then I'm going to do it. So I contacted this billing company. I sent all my contracts to the billing company. It took me about 3 months to get everything transferred over. And a few things happened that were very interesting. You know, first thing was that the amount of money that I collected on my paper went up. Now, when I was doing it myself, I collected about 80%, okay? When I transferred to the billing company, they charged me about 6% of every dollar that I sent them. The difference was they collected 98% of everything that I sent them. So on my paper, I went from collecting when I was doing it, I collected 80% of every dollar, or 80 cents on the dollar, sent my contracts to the billing company, and they collected 92% or 92 cents of every dollar. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make the phone calls. I didn't have to send out the nasty letters. And I was basically able to go from being the bad guy to the good guy. At that point, I became the middleman between the billing company and my customers. Best piece of advice I ever got. And I call that my $250,000 golden nugget story, because I figured out over the next 10 years, that's about how much additional money I made using the billing company versus handling all of that paper myself. So again, I met this person it was at a conference/trade show, but he is somebody that had been in the business, been successful, and he knew, okay, this is the way if you're going to be in the health club business, you really don't need to be collecting your own paper. Number one, somebody else can do it better than you. Number two, you don't need to be the bad guy, in the gym that people owe money to. They need to owe it to somebody else. Okay, so anyways, establish contact with these individuals can be achieved by phone calls. Try and talk to somebody in a non-compete situation. You might shoot out some emails, and certainly attending trade shows and conferences specific to your industry. And, 2 questions to ask, would you do it again? Certainly if you're not in business, you want to find out, would you do it again? And what would you do differently? And again, you want to search for their golden nuggets. Okay, 4th piece of information to gather, it would be, I call it statistical decision-making data. Okay, we need to get some numbers together. First thing that I would look at would be, national industry trends. What is the trend in your industry? Now, is it Precious? Precious is interested in opening up a daycare. And we can get some information on daycares. Nationally, what is the trend in daycares? Are they making money? Are they not making money? What's going on in the daycare industry? It's one of the things that we want to look at. Second thing would be local trends specific to your industry. We can actually go in, and there's some information that we can, as SBDC counselors, we can order for you. It takes a couple of weeks to get in, but it kind of breaks down the local market to see what would a daycare look like in the market that you're looking to go into. Are there too many daycares there already? Is there a need for one? That type of thing. We could get local, regional, and national demographics, and then also information on competitors, who they are and where they are located. The last thing would be traffic counts for commercial locations. If you're going to pick out a commercial location and you want to get an idea of what is the traffic count like, in and around this particular location, your nearest Mississippi Small Business Development Center can, in most cases, help you acquire all of this data at no charge. There's certain statistical databases that we pay for. It's good information, and we provide that to our clients at no charge. Step number 2, now we're moving into kind of the development stage. So stage 1, we gather some information. Now we are in the development stage. First thing that I would look to do would be to put together a team. People that can help me in the process of getting this business up and going. I have tried to find a mentor, somebody that maybe has owned and operated the type of your business that you're looking to go into, or somebody that has practical business experience. Another part of your team, certainly you need to have an accountant or CPA. A CPA is a certified public accountant. So at a minimum, you need an accountant and or certified public accountant on your team. If you need an attorney as a part of your team, I would get the referral from your accountant, because you kind of want to have everybody on the same page. Other members of your team, you're going to need an insurance agent. Every business out there needs different forms of insurance, at a minimum some type of liability insurance. You're going to need to have a banker or lender that you can work with. I've included a web design, social media marketing expert for most teams. 10 years ago, if you wanted to have a website, you could maybe get your cousin Tony to put together a website for you, and at least you had a presence on the web. things have gotten to where they are changing very, very fast. And if you want to utilize all of the things that are available that websites can do, social media marketing, where it all works together, you really need to bring in a professional. That's probably above, certainly above my head. And even if you're very proficient on computers, you probably don't have the skills necessary to take advantage of everything that is out there. And finally, I have the last, and I wouldn't say the most important person on your team, but certainly add your SBDC business counselor. And again, that would be somebody like me. Okay. Step 2B. Again, we're still into the development stage. Decide on a location. Are you going to be a home-based business, or do you need a commercial location? Home-based businesses are great because they have a low overhead. They're not as expensive to operate. The problem with home-based businesses is that you lack visibility. If you're going to have a home-based business, you probably need to do more marketing, more networking, those types of things. Commercial locations, the advantage is you have increased exposure. You've got signage on your building. People can drive by your location and see your business. Downside to a commercial location is you have increased overhead. You've got possibly rent, more insurance, utility bills, phone, all those kinds of things. So anyways, decide on location. You're going to be home-based or a commercial-based business. Next thing would be to select an appropriate name for your business. And this needs to convey what you do and also be unique. You want it to be something that is easy to remember, but again, unique, but then it conveys what you do. And name selection is very important. I was talking to another business counselor one time, and he had a client that came to see him, and he had a bookstore. And they were trying to figure out what was going on with the bookstore, and the business counselor said, well, what is the name of the bookstore? And I think it was called something like Upstairs, Downstairs. That was the name of the business. And the counselor said, well, I think maybe the name may be part of the problem. So they spent some time brainstorming names, that kind of thing. And I think they finally came up with the name of the bookstore was something like Longfellow's Bookstore, was what they changed the business name to. Counselor ran into this client about a year later, and sales had gone up about 80% once they changed the name. So Upstairs, Downstairs didn't do anything. But anyways, take time to select your name for your business. Pitch it to people. What do you think about my name? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Moving on, put together marketing materials. You need to get some flyers, business cards, possibly color schemes, logos for your business if needed, those types of things. Continuing on, you need to write a business plan. We need to map out everything. A lot of some of the stuff that we talk about here today we will incorporate into a business plan. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You can refer to the videos on business plans for additional information. Continuing in the development stage, work on capital requirements for your business. Basically, how much if you're going to do this business, what is it going to take to put it together money-wise? And we're talking about equipment. What equipment do you need? How much working capital? Working capital is money that is in your business checking account once you get all this stuff together. I've gone through, I got my location, I've done everything, I opened my doors, I need some money sitting in my business checking account to sustain the business until I get the wheels to turn fast enough that the business starts to cash flow. And by cash flow, I mean more money comes in than is going out in expenses every month. Okay? So, capital requirements, we need to know what equipment we need to have an idea about working capital. Build out would be renovations. If you go in and lease a space, or you buy a building, it's got to be renovated. What is that going to run you? Or are you going to build? You need to have an idea. Inventory, if your business carries inventory, how much inventory do you need to start off with? And then finally, other startup expenses. When you're starting up a business, don't forget, okay, I'm going to start this business, and I probably need to get a bookkeeping system set up and hire an accountant, and I may need an attorney to do some work for me, and I've got some deposits to put down and that kind of thing. So make sure that, in addition to everything else, you have some money set aside for those types of things. Okay, once we kind of figure out working capital requirements, the next thing we need to do is to determine if we can realistically get the financing that we need for the business as determined by the capital requirements. Okay, if not, then we need to rework the plan. That's one of the things that your business counselor can help you with, is to go in and let's if you want to do this business, let's make it realistic. Just because I want to open up a business and it's going to cost $5 million to open it up, and I've got $3,500 of my own money to put into this project. The odds are that I'm probably not going to be able to get financed. So we get the working capital requirements, and then we need to kind of say, okay, does this look like this something that I'm going to be able to get financed between what I can put into the business and loans for family, friends, those types of things, okay? Moving on, next thing we need to do is to prepare a cash flow projection. We're going to talk about this a little bit more in the presentation, and then we have a video that specifically covers cash flow projections for your business plan. Okay, and finally, identify short-term and long-term goals with the business. And I have start with the end in mind. And so we go through the rest of the presentation. I'm going to bring up some things for you to think about in the process of putting your business, and really kind of what we're talking about is long-range strategic planning. Okay, development part number 3. Now, remember we talked about capital requirements and okay, can we realistically get the financing that we need for this particular project that we're wanting to do, or to open the business this way? And where do you get the financing for your business? Well, number one would be bank loans. You write a business plan, you get your cash flow projections put together. Your SBDC counselor can certainly help you with that, and then you go and apply for a loan. Okay? Now, you go in and you apply for a loan. I'm sure everybody has heard about SBA loans. SBA loans. What's an SBA loan? How does that work? Here's the way it works. You go in to a bank and you apply for a loan. You go in, I got my business plan, I got my cash flow projections put together, and I've got my application. Okay, you go in, you apply for the loan, and the lender or the bank officer is going to tell you one of 3 things. They're going to say, yes, we can do the loan. No, we can't do the loan. Or we might be able to do the loan if we can get an SBA backing or an SBA guarantee on this loan. Okay? So if you are thinking that I need to get an SBA loan, you don't go to the SBA office to get an SBA loan. You start off with any number of traditional lenders. So you go in, you apply for the loan, they'll tell you, yes, we can do it. No, we can't, or they may come back and say, we might be able to do this loan if we can get the SBA to back the loan. At that point, they will take your loan package and they pass it over to the SBA, and they try and get the SBA to guarantee the loan under one of their loan programs. And right now, those guarantees are about 80, they back at about 85% for the lender. Now, just realize there are 2 arms of the SBA. You have the regular arm of the SBA, and they're in the state year-round. And then you have the disaster arm, okay? And there's a little bit of confusion. Regular arm of the SBA, they do not loan money. What they do is they, as far as the loan goes, they back loans for any number of traditional lenders, okay? That's what they do. Disaster arm of the SBA, they actually loan money. So if a disaster comes in, a tornado hits, or a hurricane comes in and flattens a part of the state, they come in, they set up the disaster shops. And what they do is they're the ones that provide that loans for the financing terms are like up to 30 years. The interest rate is like 2.5%. Again, they are not here year-round. So what I'm talking about is the traditional or the regular arm of the SBA. Other places that you may get financing: family, friends, yourself. You possibly could look at home equity loans or home equity lines of credit. That may be another possibility. Another thing to consider would be equipment leases. If you need equipment, sometimes a good option for that is to simply lease the equipment, and my suggestion would be try to lease it with like a 10% buyout option at the end of the lease. A lot of businesses that you wouldn't think would lease equipment do. A lot of restaurants that are opened up, when somebody goes in and they get all of their restaurant equipment, you know, the dishwasher, the sink, the hood, all that stuff. What they do is they go into a commercial restaurant supply place and lease it. Okay, and usually it's a lease for 3, 4, 5 years, and then it'll have a buyout option at the end of the lease. But that's certainly a thing to consider. You know, when I was in the health club business, all of my equipment, I didn't buy any of my equipment, I leased it all. And I had all of my leases set up with a 10% buyout option at the end of the lease. So, for example, one time I went and I got 10 treadmills, and the treadmills were $7,500. So I got $75,000 in treadmills. Okay, leased them for 4 years. Every month I make a payment to the lease company. At the end of the terms of the lease, I had the option to buy or purchase the treadmills at 10% of the original purchase price, which I did. Wrote them a check for $7,500. Plus they charged me, I think it was a $350 title transfer fee. At that point, I owned the equipment. Okay. Another thing to look at: pre-sale products and/or services before you open. You know, one of the things that we talked about in the beginning was to go out and gather some information and get a feel for a need in the marketplace. You know, give you an example of things that you can kind of pre-sell. You know, if you're going to go into the daycare business, when do you start signing up spots for kids? When do you bring mom in and have mom reserve a space? Do you wait until your doors are open? Or do you start reserving those spots 3, 4, 5 months before you open your doors? Okay, so think about that. Not all businesses you can do that pre-sale, but certainly daycares do it. Health clubs do it. A lot of service type businesses that offer various services to businesses, they'll go around and pre-sell various packages. Another option for financing would be to roll out the build out. That's the renovations for your space, and that was be space modification, you know, things like electrical work, plumbing, walls, countertops, lights, any type of remodeling, etc., into the lease. So in effect, what you do is the owner of the space you are leasing pays for the build out, or a portion of the build out, and you, the leasee, pay the owner back with an additional sum added to your rent or lease payments every month. And I put note, most startup businesses use a combination of capital sources to fund their business. You know, the days of, okay, I got my business plan and I've got my cash flow projection numbers put together, and I go into the bank and say, okay, if I'm going to do this business, this is everything that I need, and the lender looks at it and says, okay, this looks great, I'm going to do the finance, the whole thing for you. Those days are kind of in the past. Most people that actually get their businesses started get their funding from multiple sources. You know, part of it may be from a bank loan. Some of it come from yourself. You may get some money from family and friends. Part of it may be going through an equipment, leasing equipment, those types of things. And, you know, negotiating some kind of build out with, if you're going to go in and rent or lease commercial space, negotiate that with your landlord. So usually it's a combination of these things that really kind of helps you get all of the capital put together that you need to start a business. Okay, what the banks are looking for. You know, you go in and apply for a business loan and you are, you know, startup business. What are they going to look at? Well, the first thing they're going to look at is your personal credit score and your credit history. Okay, that's pretty much the first thing that they look at. So if you're looking to go into business at some point in the future and your credit is somewhat marginal, go ahead and start working on it. You know, try and get those issues cleared up. Second thing that they look at would be collateral. And collateral, those are assets that are pledged against the amount of money that you want to borrow. Okay? All banks, all lenders are a little bit different as far as their collateral requirements go. But that's certainly something to consider. You know, if I go in and I need to borrow, you know, $50,000 or $100,000, how much collateral am I going to have to put up, and what are they going to accept as collateral? Third thing they look at is owner injection. And that is the amount of debt-free equity you can contribute to the business. And it's usually 10 to 30% of the project. So to give you a ballpark number, if I want to borrow $100,000 from the bank and I'm starting a business, I probably need to have $25,000 or $30,000 of my own money to put into the project. They also look at capability. Capability would be your experience, skills, education. Do you have the background to make this work? Other thing that they look at is your debt to income ratio. How much, and debt to income is pretty simple. How much debt do I have in relation to the income that comes into my household in addition to what this business is going to produce? Okay? So if you're going to be applying for a business loan coming up, don't go out and buy a new motorcycle or have a swimming pool put in your house or those kinds of things. Probably what you want to do is to, maybe pay off if you have a little bit of long-term debt that you can knock out. If I can get credit cards paid off, if I could get a car paid off, those types of things, so that your debt to income ratio looks better when you go in and talk to the lender. Anytime you apply for a business loan, you need to go in with a well-prepared business plan. And I like to break the business plan into two parts. We have a written description of the business that you're going to be opening and operating. And the second part are your cash flow projection numbers. And again, if we have some additional information on that, you can refer to those videos. Or, contact your local Mississippi Small Business Development Center. We can certainly help you with that. Okay, the other thing that the banks are going to look for when you go in and apply for a loan is something that is called a statement of financial need. Okay? Basically what that means is they want a breakdown of what you are going to use the lender's money for. Okay, so if I want to borrow $100,000 and it's part of my numbers packet, but I need to go in with something that shows, okay, I want to borrow $100,000 and I'm going to use, $33,000 for renovations, and I need $10,000 in inventory, and I want $25,000 in working capital, and then however else it plays out. But they kind of want a breakdown of what it is that you're going to use their money for. They also want to know what your owner injection is going to be. That's how much money you are putting into the project. All right, moving on, business plan. We're still in the development stage. One of the things that you need to do is to write a business plan. Now, all I want to do is introduce the topics of what a business plan is today. We're going to have there's some additional videos on exactly how to write a business plan and do your cash flow numbers. But just to introduce the subject, in case you don't know, first part of the business plan is a written description of your business. And the main topics that we look at are, we need to write a description of the products and or services that you're going to be selling. If you go back to kind of the beginning of the presentation, one of the things that we talked about was putting together a 30 or 45 second elevator speech. If you're going to go out and gather some information, hey, this is who I am, this is the name of my business, this is what we do. That's really kind of what you're doing when you're describing we're going to go through and describe the products or services that you are going to be selling. In effect, you're writing your elevator speech. I have some people that when we sit down to write a business plan, they say, well, why? I know what I'm going to be doing. Why do I have to write it out? And I said, okay, well, tell me what it is that you're doing. And, if you haven't planned it out, written it out, practiced it, it doesn't come off very smooth. So this is one of the things that you can actually use your business plan for, is to write a really nice description of who you are and what you're going to be selling. And incorporate that into your 30 to 45 second elevator speech. Second part of a business plan would be identify the market. Who will you be selling to? We're talking about two things. We're talking about geographically where's the business located, and also who's your target market. I.e. who's your best customer, bread and butter customer. Third part of the business plan, how do you advertise, how you're going to advertise and market the business. Basically, how are you going to promote the business? And I look at two things. Number one, I want to create some awareness for the business plan. And the second thing I want is to specifically target my target market. Fourth part of the business plan, we need to look at the competition, who they are, what they sell, what they do well, what they don't do well, how much they charge, those types of things. Part number 5, we need to do a section under owners and management. If you're going to go in and apply for a business loan, the lender wants to know who you are. One of the things that you need to include with your business plan is a copy of your resume. And you need to update your resumes, kind of like if you're going to go and apply for a job. You see a job looks good, First thing you do is you get out your resume and you kind of tweak your resume so that you try and match it to the job that you're applying for. Okay, kind of the same thing with this. You know, if you're going to be opening up whatever type of business, you want your resume to kind of reflect, hey, I have the, the background to run this business and run it successfully. Another thing to consider under management is how the business is going to be managed. You know, who's going to be in charge of the accounting, the bookkeeping, running payroll, who is going to be in charge of training employees, all those types of things. And finally, we also need to identify capital requirements for starting or expanding the business. And again, this is kind of a repeat, but capital requirements that would be working capital, inventory, machinery, equipment, other fixed assets, build out, those types of things. Second thing I want to just introduce today is the concept of cash flow projection. Okay, in addition to we write a description of our business, the second thing that we need to start to work on, number one, to make the determination, is this business really going to be viable, profit-wise? Does this thing make sense if we put the numbers to it? We need to do a cash flow projection. And the nice thing if we do that is we also have started the information, gathering the information that we need to put together something that's called a pro forma packet. And that's basically your numbers packet that includes a cash flow projection and also that statement of financial need. And we're going to have additional information on that in the other videos. So anyways, what is a sample cash flow projection? Well, it's very simple. In this example, we say, okay, we project that we're going to do, first month, we're going to do $10,000 in services and $2,500 in retail sales, and this is for cash flow projection for a beauty salon, okay? And you probably say, okay, where did you get the numbers for to project your sales? Well, in this particular case, I actually went to one of the statistical databases, and I did this for a client that was looking to open up a beauty salon in South Mississippi. So I went to BizMiner, and I did a little bit of research, and I figured out that a beauty salon in South Mississippi, first month that they open their doors, they average about $10,000 a month in sales. So that's where I got my sales projection number from. So this isn't something I pulled out of thin air. I actually went and did some research and figured out, okay, beauty salon, South Mississippi, odds are we're probably going to do about $10,000 in sales cutting hair, and we're probably going to sell about $2,500 in retail products. So we have $12,500 comes in sales the first month, and then the second part that we need to work on is to go through and identify, okay, what are the expenses going to be during that month? And we start off and we just go through the disbursements. Those are all of the expenses. I have material cost of $1,250, and that's from retail sales. Your typical beauty salon, if you buy something for $5, you sell it for $10. If you buy it for $10, you sell it for $20. So we know that under retail sales, if we have $2,500 in sales, then the material cost of the products that we sold is probably going to be about $1,250. Second thing we look at will be, I need to figure out what my labor is going to be. I'm going to have to hire some people to run this business, and I just have to start off with, I'm going to keep my labor low, so I have $640, and I have a part-time person that's going to work 20 hours per week. It's going to run me about $640 the first month that I'm in business. I don't want to go hire 15 people and I'm not busy. I want to keep my overhead down, so I hire enough to run my business effectively, but I'm not wasting a lot of money in payroll expenses. Owner, don't know how much the owner's going to make because we don't know how much money is going to be left at the end of the month. Nothing under benefits. Advertising, I'm going to set aside $250 for advertising the first month. And if you notice, I have 2% of gross sales. And the reason that I have that is if you're doing this cash flow projection and you want to go in and apply for a loan with it, the lender is going to want to see about 2% of your gross sales set aside for some type of advertising. So that's why I picked that particular number. We do not have an auto expense, nothing under contributions. Now, charge cards, those are called merchant service fees. If I take debit cards and credit cards, every time I swipe somebody's card, there's a fee involved. So in this example, I have figured out that I think that about half of my sales are going to be swiped. So I just took half of that 12.5, took 50% of that and multiplied that times 0.02, and I've got $125 in merchant services. So those are just my credit card fees. Nothing under dues and subscriptions. We don't freight, we're not shipping anything off. Now, insurance. I need liability insurance for my business at a minimum. And I've calculated probably going to run me a couple of $100 a month. Legal and accounting, and primarily I'm talking about accounting, is going to run $35 a month. And then we go through the rest of it. Office supplies, pencil, paper, toner for the printer, those types of things. Shop supplies, that would be hair care products, about $400. Business phone line, $150. Utilities are probably going to run about $300. My rent or lease I have calculated at $880. Now, in this example, I have a commission that I'm paying out for two people that have chairs in the business. So sales come in and they bring in X amount of money, and then I'm paying them 60% of everything that they bring in. So I'm estimating that my two people that are going to be in my business and have chairs in there are going to bring in, between the two of them, about $6,000, and they're going to get 60% of that. Okay? Debt service charges, that is your monthly payment to the bank. The example I have is I have $50,000. I'm showing I borrowed $50,000 for 7 years at 6% interest rate. Every month I owe the bank $730. So that's my monthly payment on that loan. Okay? Bank service charges, I have 10. So total disbursements is $8,620. And if you look down here on the bottom, we have $12,500 comes in sales, $8,620 goes out in expenses every month, and that leaves a net profit of $3,880 before the owner gets paid. So we've shown a net profit, $3,880, and the owner has not gotten paid yet. So now the owner needs to make enough money to, as you're looking at this cash flow and you get to the bottom, okay, first thing I look at is, if I've done a good job with this and this is how much money is left over, is this enough money for me to pay my personal bills? What is my personal, how much money do I have to make to pay my own house payment, car payment, food, whatever my monthly expenses are for my household. And then in addition to that, you also you need some money to reinvest into the business. In other words, if I make $3,880, I probably don't need to take that amount, whatever the net profit is every month, and pay myself 100% of that. I need to have some money left over after I pay myself to reinvest into the business. Build up my business checking account for when we hit the slow time of the year. I might use part of that money to make lump sum payments on that $50,000 that I borrowed. Those types of things. Okay, so anyways, let me just go back here for a minute. So I just wanted to introduce the concept of cash flow. We project the sales and we come up with our sales number by doing a little bit of research. And then we go in and plug in the expenses and see, okay, when we get to the bottom of this thing, does it make sense? Is it making enough of a profit? Okay, business setup. What to do after capitalization requirements are approved and received. And what I mean by that is you have enough money to open up your business, okay? I have note, loan approval does not guarantee that you will receive funds. Wait until the money is deposited into your business checking account before you sign any leases or other agreements necessary to start the business, okay? So let's say I apply for a loan and the lender calls up and says, hey, you're approved, can you come, we're going to do the loan closing this Friday, and it's Monday. I don't need to go out and, okay, now I can go sign my, for all of this stuff. I'm going to sign for the space, and I'm going to sign for my equipment, and I'm going to order my inventory and all of that stuff. because there's no guarantee that the money is going to be there until it actually hits your account. I've had a couple of clients just in the last 6 months that have talked to the lender, you're approved, they've gone in. One of my clients signed a 5-year lease, and between the time she signed the 5-year lease and when she was supposed to get her money, bank called back and said, we're sorry, we can't do the loan. So wait until the money hits your business checking account before you obligate yourself. Continue to follow your business plan. We're going to go through, take the time to write it out. Don't take your business plan and just shove it in the door. Pull it out and look at it from time to time. It's going to give you a roadmap on how to get your business set up, started, and run your business. Be ready to modify business plan as needed. Again, market changes. You go in and you've said, okay, this is what I'm going to sell. This is who I'm going to sell it to. Sometimes once you get in business, you find out pretty quickly that either what you're selling or who you're selling to needs an adjustment. So be ready to do that. Okay, proper business setup. Here what we're talking about is we've kind of gone through and we've done a lot of work, and we're kind of getting to the point where we are ready to hit the go button. Meaning, okay, I've put everything together and I am going to start this business. So how do I go about doing that? My suggestion number one, before you do anything, is go down and do an initial investigation with your city and county agencies to determine if you will be able to operate your business at a specific location in a particular way. And kind of what I mean by that is if I'm going to open up a business in, let's say, the city of Gulfport, Mississippi, and it's going to be a home-based business, one of the things that I probably need to do is to go down, say, hey, I'm in the process of putting this business together. I'm going to come in and apply for a business license. Can I operate this type of business at this location? And get some initial feedback, because I don't want to put this whole thing together and then I go in to get my business license and I find out, well, you can't operate this type of business at this location. So, before we do anything, let's take a trip down to your city. If your business is located within the city limits, generally you go to your city, and your SBDC counselor should be able to provide you with the contact information of where you go. And if you're in the city limits, you go to the city. If you're not in the city limits, meaning you're in an unincorporated area, then you will go to your county agency. So anyways, we go down and do a little bit of initial investigation to make sure that we can open up this type of business at this location. Once we do that, we need to, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the launch button, we're going to start this business. We need to hire an accountant or a CPA and have them help us select our business structure. Okay, now we have a video series on business structure. I'm going to go over it briefly, but there is a video that will cover this topic in detail. So anyways, we select the business structure, and what do we have to choose from? 5 main things to choose from are: you can be a sole proprietor, you can have a general partnership, you can form like a limited liability company, sub-S corporation, or a C corporation. So that's really kind of what we have to choose from. Now, that being said, what is a sole proprietor? Sole proprietor is somebody that really has a business without, you don't have to file anything with the Mississippi Secretary of State's office. If I have a business, if I go out and I start cutting grass, and I'm not talking about like my mom or my sister, but kind of the general public, by default, and I get paid for it, by default, I'm a sole proprietor. Okay? Don't have to do much of anything. I provide a service, I get paid for it, by default, I'm a sole proprietor. Main issue with being a sole proprietor is that you have maximum personal liability. Something happens, somebody decides to sue me for whatever reason. Let's say I'm on a mower and my mower throws a rock, hits somebody, they end up in the hospital for 3 weeks. I may be personally liable, meaning, they could go after my house, car, checking, savings, retirement, those kinds of things. Okay. General partnership. If I bring in a partner and we go out and we cut grass, and my partner's on the mower, and the mower throws a rock, I may be personally liable for what my partner does and what I do. So the issue with being a sole proprietor or partnership is liability for your personal assets. So what you may want to do, and again, you're going to want to consult your CPA, would be to form like a limited liability company, sub-S corporation, or a C corporation. At that point, to form those entities, that is filed with the Secretary of State's office, and at that point you're creating a separate entity from you and your business. So if I decide I'm going to do a lawn service, and I call it whatever lawn service LLC, I file that paperwork, register it with the state of Mississippi. I've created a separate entity, and now I've put a shield between my business and my personal assets. Now I need to maintain that business in good standing, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but the whole idea is that I've created a separate entity for myself and the business, put a shield between my personal assets and what the business does. So LLC, sub-S corporation, C corporation, they all kind of provide that basic shield. Okay, so let's say that I decide I'm going to form a limited liability company. Okay, I've gone down, I've talked to for example, the city of Gulfport, Mississippi. They said, okay, yeah, you can operate that type of business there. I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back and form my LLC, and then I'll come back and get my privilege license. So find out, okay, yeah, I am going to be able to operate this business, this location, but I don't want to get my privilege license yet or my business license yet if I'm going to do the limited liability company, because I want everything to go under the limited liability company. So what I do is register, I fill out my paperwork, I send it into the Secretary of State's office. Usually it takes about 2 weeks for you to get that paperwork back. Okay, so send it into the state. 2 weeks later I get my paperwork back that says, okay, you have officially formed an LLC with the state of Mississippi. Now I'm ready to get everything else that I need with my business. So I can take that paperwork down and I go get my privilege license or my business license under the name of the LLC. If I need to get a sales tax ID number, I want the sales tax ID number to go under the LLC. Okay, that's why we want to do that first. Now, talking a little bit about your Mississippi sales tax ID number. If you sell a tangible product, when you go into the convenience store, you buy a bottle of water for $1, they charge you $1.07, that's sales tax. So anytime you're selling a tangible product in the state of Mississippi, generally speaking, you have to charge sales tax on that. And what you do is you get a sales tax ID number, and every time you make a sale, you hold 7% of that money for the Mississippi Department of Revenue, and then based on your filing requirements, it may be monthly, it may be quarterly, then you send a check to the Mississippi Department of Revenue for the money that you have collected on their behalf. In addition to that, if I perform repairs to somebody's personal property, according to the Mississippi Department of Revenue, I'm supposed to collect sales tax on labor and materials. So if I have a computer repair business, if I fix people's laptops, that is somebody's personal property, right? Okay? Doesn't matter if all I do is repair go and do a reinstall. I'm repairing their personal property, and I should charge them sales tax on the repairs that I do for that computer. If I have HVAC business, where I'm an electrician or plumber, if I go out to somebody's house and stop their sink, I'm supposed to charge 7% labor and 7% sales tax, labor and material. Or basically, I'm collecting that 7% on behalf of the state of Mississippi. Okay. Now, interesting thing: if you have a home-based business and you need to get a sales tax ID number, when you go to the Mississippi Department of Revenue, they are going to require that you put down a deposit or a surety bond to get that sales tax ID number. Okay, if you have a commercial location, they do not require the deposit or the surety bond. Home-based businesses, in most cases, you have to put down a deposit or get a surety bond. And you might say, well, what's the difference between a home-based business and a commercially located business? Well, if I have a commercial location and I don't collect my sales tax or remit my sales tax like I'm supposed to, the Mississippi Department of Revenue, they can come and padlock my door, meaning they can put me out of business because I'm not doing business the way that I should be doing it, which is collecting that sales tax and then in a timely manner remitting that money to the state. If I have a home-based business and I don't do what I should be doing with my collecting the sales tax and remitting it to the state, they cannot lock me out of my house. I have to have a place to sleep. So what they'll do is, if in the event that I don't handle my sales tax like I'm supposed to, then they can take that money out of my deposit or out of my surety bond. Okay, so just be aware, if you need a sales tax ID number, and you have a home-based business, they probably will require that you put a deposit down or get a surety bond. And those, for most home-based businesses, your deposit or your surety bond was run anywhere from $300 to about $1,000, just depending on the business. So, privilege license, sales tax ID, other licenses and permits. You know, what I'm talking about here would be industry-specific licenses and permits. You know, if I'm going to open a hair salon, you know, I need to have my cosmetology license. If I'm going to practice law, of course, I need a law license. If I am a contractor and I'm going to be doing projects that are over a certain amount, then I need to get a state contractor's license. If I am going to operate a restaurant, you know, I'm going to be doing food service, you know, I have to get my ServSafe certificate, and then I also have to be approved by get my kitchen and my establishment approved by the Mississippi Department of Health. So that would be other licenses and permits. I need business insurance for my business. You know, and you might say, well, what do you need business insurance for? If I have a LLC to protect my personal assets, well, you know, what do I really need business insurance for? Well, one of the things that can crack the, you know, we call it the corporate veil, or that protection for your personal assets, one of the things that can kind of put that protection in jeopardy is something called gross negligence. You know, if I'm grossly negligent, if the court says, okay, this person had this business and they were grossly negligent, and therefore we are going to lift the corporate veil, basically meaning that now your assets, your personal assets, are at risk. One of the ways that that can happen is if you don't carry business insurance, or you don't carry enough business insurance. You know, there's been instances where something has happened. Okay, somebody has this corporation or this LLC, something happened, they went into court. It turned out the business did not have insurance or did not have enough insurance. And the courts determined that, you know, the business owner or whoever ran this business entity was grossly negligent. And what they did was they cracked that corporate veil, and then the owner's personal assets were at stake. So realize, you know, business insurance is very important. You need a business checking account for your business. You don't need to, you know, be running your business out of your personal checking account. I talked to the field compliance officer with the IRS probably 6 or 8 months ago, and I said, what's the number one thing that gets small businesses in trouble? And he said, and this field compliance officer, this is the guy that goes around from business to business to business and says, hey, you know, I'm just coming in, see how you're doing. I need to check on this and that, make sure you're in compliance with everything. He said the number one thing that gets a small business in trouble with the IRS is either not having a business checking account, specifically for the business, or commingling funds between the business checking account and the personal checking account. I said, okay, what does that mean? He said, you know, when you have a business, the business sells stuff. That's the dollars that are brought in through the sales should be deposited into the business checking account. Expenses for the business are paid through the business checking account. And then when the owner takes the owner's draw, the owner writes him or herself a check and deposits that into their personal checking account. He said that's kind of the way it is supposed to flow. Now, an example of that not flowing would be to take sales from your business and deposit it directly into your personal checking account, meaning you kind of bypass your business checking account. Or things like paying personal bills out of your business checking account. So either commingling funds or not having a business checking account. So very important to have a business checking account. Other thing is, if you don't have a business checking account, you really don't have any idea of how your business is doing. You know, if everything is commingled, I mean, how's your business doing? What are your sales and expenses, that kind of thing, okay? So we have business checking account. Now, finally, we need an in-house bookkeeping system. You know, you need to have some kind of bookkeeping or record-keeping system to keep up with your business. You know, my suggestion for most small businesses would probably be to get set up on something like QuickBooks. If you just something like QuickBooks, you need to have somebody with an accounting background to come in and set up your system for you. You know, if you don't have an accounting background, it's difficult to get that set up and get it set up correctly. So my suggestion would be have your accountant set up your QuickBooks, or get a QuickBooks Pro advisor to come in and set up your QuickBooks, or whatever accounting system that you're going to use. Once it's set up, then get some training by somebody that has an accounting background. You know, your CPA, your accountant, or somebody that's like a QuickBooks Pro advisor, or somebody that's certified in one of the other programs. So you got proper setup, proper training, whoever's going to use the system. And then from there, you're also going to need an accountant to make sure that, you know, if I'm the business owner and I'm handling the books, I probably need an accountant to come in and do a quarterly review, make sure that I'm doing everything right, especially if, you know, if I have a payroll system. So we have the setup, the training, and then we have somebody that can come in and review and make sure you're doing everything correctly. Your nearest SBDC office can kind of help you navigate this process. So kind of in review, to go back over this, because this is really pretty important. You know, first thing we want to do is we want to go in, you know, visit our city or county agency and say, hey, I'm thinking about opening this kind of business. Is this going to be a problem doing this at this location? You know, what do I need to do? Once you find out that you can do that, then we need to select the business structure. I would check with your CPA or your accountant to get advice on which one is best for you and your business. Once we get the business structure selected and we create or form the business entity, when we get that information, you know, in the state of Mississippi, it's going to come back from the Secretary of State's office. Then once we get that back and we've formed it, we get our privilege license or our business license. We get a sales tax ID number if needed. Other licenses and permits that would be more industry specific. Business insurance, business checking account, and then we need to get that record keeping system set up. Okay, leasing commercial space. You know, we're going to go in and open up a business and we're going to lease or rent some space. Generally speaking, they quote you the price per square foot per year. So the example I have is that we're going to go in and we're going to rent some space, and the price is $10 per square foot, and the space that we are going to be renting is 5,000 square feet. So we're going to be paying $50,000 per year, and I take that $50,000, divide that by 12, and I get $4,166.66 per month. That's my price per square foot per month. Plus, they may charge me triple net lease fees. Okay, so we have our price per square foot, and then there may be some additional charges that they tack on. So, triple net lease fees requires the leasee to pay for net real estate taxes on the leased assets, net building insurance. And I have not the same as liability insurance for your business. So basically, if you go in and you rent space or you lease some space, you have your price per square foot, and then if they charge you triple net, you're paying for the taxes, the insurance on the building, and something that is called CAM charges, or common area maintenance fees. And that's what triple net is. And just be aware that when you're paying the insurance on the building, that is not insurance on your business. That's not liability insurance on your business. That is just insurance on the building. So price per square foot, we have triple net fees added to that. Generally speaking, it probably runs about, your triple net fees run about 10 to 15% of your price per square foot. So if I know my price per square foot is $4,166 per month, I can probably add anywhere from $400 to $600 per month if they're going to charge me those triple net charges. Okay? So price per square foot plus the triple net, they may or may not charge you triple net. Generally, if you're in a large shopping center or kind of like in an established shopping center, they just about always charge you triple net. If you go lease a freestanding building from somebody that's really not in the real estate business, then there's a good chance they will not charge you triple net. Or it's really, in effect, it's built in because to your price per square foot because it's got to be paid. But just be aware that you have your price per square foot, plus they may charge you triple net. Now, there's something out there that is called a personal guarantor. or you personally guarantee something that's going to be paid. So a lot of times, when you are going to go in and you are going to rent or lease a space, or you lease equipment, or you get a loan, or you get a line of credit, you get some inventory in advance, what they will do is they will make you sign something that is called a personal guarantee. I personally guarantee that this is going to be paid. And the personal guarantee really is outside of the business entity. So if I do like a LLC or a sub-S corporation or C corporation, and I sign a personal guarantee, in effect, what I'm doing is I am personally signing it just like I would be signing it as a sole proprietor. Meaning I am personally responsible for this. The LLC is not responsible for this, or the sub-S corporation is not responsible for this. So, personal guarantee requires you to personally guarantee that a lease or note will be paid. A couple of interesting facts. Once a personal guarantee is signed, you are on for the life of the duration of the agreement, even if you sell the business. Okay, so let's say that I have a business and I sign a 5-year lease. I personally guarantee that this is going to be paid. And 1 year into the 5-year lease, I sell you the business. Okay, you now buy the business, and I think, glad that's over. I've got that personal guarantee off of my back. Generally speaking, doesn't happen that way. If you come in and you take over my lease, meaning you go in and you say, okay, I'm going to finish out the remainder of this 5-year lease. I got 4 more years on it. I'm not off as a personal guarantee until she finishes that lease out. Now, if she were to go in and negotiate a new lease, you buy my business and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go in and talk to whoever, and I'm going to negotiate a new lease where it's going to start brand new, and she is able to do that, then I would not. Then at that point I would be released as a guarantee because the original lease would be replaced by the new lease. Okay, so note, if you sell the business and the new owner negotiates a new lease, then you should be released as the guarantor of the original lease, and I would make sure you get confirmation in writing. And again, business structures, LLCs, sub-S corporations, C corporations, those types of things, does not protect your personal assets when you sign as a personal guarantee. Okay, and finally, overview. We start off the process, we gather information. We're looking at what is the demand in the marketplace? What does the competition look like? We certainly would, if we can, do an experience survey. Talk to somebody that's in the business and they're successful at it. Get some information from them. Visit your nearest SBDC center and come in and get some help gathering some statistical data for your business. Next, we move into the development phase where we are looking at selecting location. We're going to get a name for the business. We're going to write a business plan. We look at the capital needs of the business and also start working on a cash flow projection. Once we hit the go button, we're ready to get the go button. Okay, I've done all this work. This thing's going to happen. What do I do? First thing you need to do is hire an accountant or a CPA when you're ready to start the business. Have them help you select the business structure. And then we've gone through and talked about proper business setup. I get my business structure selected, and then I go through and I get my business license. I check on my sales tax ID number, any other licenses and permits that I need, business insurance, business checking account, and bookkeeping system with proper setup and training. Once we go through that, don't leave your business plan shoved in a drawer. Pull it out, look at it. You've mapped this thing out, use it. And finally, contact your nearest Mississippi Small Business Development Center office for help in starting your business on a solid foundation. That's what we do. And just remember that we are funded by the SBA, which is the federal government. We're funded by the state of Mississippi, so we like to say that all of our services are prepaid by your federal and state tax dollars. So take advantage of the services that we offer. That's all I got. Thanks for coming.